Hello, and welcome all back to Election Time News, your one-stop political summations, poll reviews, nonpartisan predictions, and reviews and compilations on other political forecasters. Today is Monday, October 7th, 2024, and today we'll be diving into the most logical ways and just general possible ways that each candidate can reach 270 electoral votes, looking at polling market and some poll data to figure out which ones are more possible based on this 2024 presidential map with the 7 main swing states on it. If you like content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I'll be giving weekly updates on my predictions for the presidential election every Tuesday, leading all the way up to a video with my final prediction on the morning of Election Day. And I'll also be giving periodic updates on Senate races, and sometimes a gubernatorial race if I'm feeling up to it. I have a goal of 500 subscribers by Election Day, so do me a favor and click on that bright red button. Also, make sure to join the Discord, get alerts when I upload, take part in an election simulation to test your prediction skills, and more. The link will be in the description. So this is all leading up to my mega stream of the 2024 presidential election on the 5th itself. So make sure to subscribe so you also get notified when that starts. So on to the video. Here we have the main 7 swing states for the 2024 presidential election. These being Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, and Nevada, going in order of poll closing times. Now, these states all have different histories and backgrounds to how they have voted in the past, and based on this, we can generally figure out, based on polls, we can also figure out how likely they are to vote for either candidate this time around. So, looking first here at the state of Georgia. We're going to go in poll closing time order. Georgia was the closest state in the 2020 presidential election, just barely went to Biden after it shifted an entire 5.5 points to the left from 2016. Now, looking here in the polls for the state, this is one of Trump's safest states. He's ahead by 1.3 points according to 538. With the most recent poll actually being even from Insider Advantage. Quinnipiac University, Trump plus 5 and Trump plus 6. 2 from Atlas Intel, Trump plus 1 and even. These Atlas Intel polls are very interesting, though. They generally have Harris doing very well in the Sun Belt and actually losing in the Rust Belt, which is backwards of what it normally would be, as you can see here. Now, recently, all 3 of the Rust Belt went to toss up. Harris lost 55% in Wisconsin and actually lost like 6% in Michigan, dropping from, I think it was like 66% or so. So a large drop. I think it might just be partisan people being very hopeful about the election and not actually as much the predictors putting in their votes. But and then, of course, Pennsylvania, 54%. He pulled a few percentage points into the lead, but generally Harris has the best chance up here and not as well down here in the Sun Belt region. And then, of course, Nevada is actually the one of 3 states right now that Harris has a lead in, the largest now being Michigan, then Wisconsin, then Nevada, going by 1% down for each. But looking at the polls here, Harris has a +1 poll here, +3, +3, +2. These are interesting polls. It's been all over the place, but generally, these very recent Trump plus 5 and Trump plus 6 polls are definitely going to pull up his polling average. You can see he was under a point before them, but then right here, it jumped to 0.6, and then these positive Harris polls stopped being accounted for, so then it jumped up to 1.2. So, looking now at Georgia, it's probably going to go red for the map, tilting red. But basically, the simplest way for Donald Trump to get 270 would be Georgia, North Carolina, and then Pennsylvania would get him right to 270. Now, how is this the easiest path? He does have an advantage in Arizona. It will be easier for him to win Arizona than to win Pennsylvania. However, that is not enough to get him above 270. He would still need to win any of these other states, and Nevada is actually relatively blue right now. Harris has been polling very well, and it actually has the polling error generally benefits Democrats in the state. Now, how is this the best? Now, looking how is this the best for Trump? Now, looking in at North Carolina, we're going to look at the polling average here. Basically, Trump has held an advantage in the state almost the entire time. It actually only has an 0.8 of a point lead in North Carolina. The most recent one by insider advantage has them essentially even. That's probably due to rounding right here. But they're essentially even. I'm not sure why it actually says even right there. Trump plus 3, Trump plus 2, Trump plus 1, Trump plus 2. So Trump has been very, very close, but a very narrow lead for quite some time. Harris has had a 1/10 of a point lead or so in the polling average every so often, but I don't see Harris currently winning right now. Polymarket also generally agrees with this, as it has Trump now with a 58% chance of winning North Carolina, which is also up a bit. So North Carolina also has consistently voted red. It actually has voted red every single year since, I believe, every single year since 1977. Presidentially has voted red every single year since 1977 presidentially, except for 2008 when it went by 0.33 for Obama. But then it went back into the Republicans' column in 2012, going 2 points for Romney, and most recently voted 1.3% for Trump. So it appears that it even after Biden was leading in the polling average at the end, right before Election Day. So, of course, with polling errors, there could definitely be even redder, but it does show Trump in the lead, which is a good sign for him. So that's why North Carolina is also the second best. Pennsylvania being the third best. This one is probably the most difficult, but as far as polling goes, it's definitely not out of reach for Donald Trump yet whatsoever. Harris has a 0.6 of a point lead, which doesn't give her much slack. Also, something slightly concerning is that these are two slightly right-leaning pollsters, and also there is a partisan sponsor for the Republican Party. So all three of these are partisan sponsored. Trump plus 2, Trump plus 1, and even. But here, Atlas Intel is questionable. But basically, quite a few of these have Harris up, but still the fact that she, overall, the polling average only has 0.6 of a point lead should be a bit concerning for her campaign. And actually, Trump does hold a lead in the state of Pennsylvania on Polymarket, but again, I think right now is probably the worst time to use Polymarket, because now I think is going to be more when it's actually against the rules on Polymarket to bet if you are in the United States, but some people use VPNs and do it anyway. But they are going to be betting on the races being hopeful for the Republican candidate, I think is generally what's going on, or hopeful Republicans abroad, or something along those lines, because all of these percentages have gone up recently in all of the swing states except for Nevada. It actually got better for Harris, but in every single other swing state, the odds have gotten better for Donald Trump, and this election flipped very recently into Trump's favor. It was 51-49 Harris. But anyway, looking back over here, if Trump then wins Pennsylvania, that would be a win for him. Now, looking at Harris's best path to victory is going to be a sweep of the Rust Belt. Now, these three states have voted in tandem with each other. Now, as you can see, it gets exactly 270. These three states have voted in tandem with each other every single year for the past few decades. 2020, they all flipped blue after they all just barely flipped red for Donald Trump in 2016. They all went blue 2012, 2008, 2004, 2000, 1996, 1992, and then here, 1988 is the last time that they voted separately. Wisconsin voted by 3.6% for Dukakis, when Michigan and Pennsylvania both voted for Bush in 1988. But they did vote together for Reagan both times. And then, actually, this is interesting, Michigan being redder than Wisconsin or Pennsylvania, because these days, Wisconsin is the redder of the two, both demographically and just electorally, as Michigan is the bluest. Trump 0.22, well, it was 0.72 and 0.76, and here it shifted the furthest to the left, going by almost 3 points, while Pennsylvania was only by 1.2 and Wisconsin was by 0.63. So, generally, these three vote relatively together, but it's possible that if Harris were to only win Michigan by, say, half a point or so, that they could potentially split up and vote for different candidates for the first time since 1988. But this would be Harris's easiest path to victory, just winning the crucial Rust Belt trio. Now, these are also the deciders in the election for both 2020 and 2016, as if Hillary Clinton had won all three, she would have beaten Trump, and he would have never been president. And if Trump had managed to hold all three in 2020, then he would be serving a second term. So basically, these three are going to yet again decide the election. However, based on this, if Trump manages to sweep them, he still will not have enough, and he'll have to win any state other than Nevada in order to win. Interestingly, this, if you perfectly flipped them, then you would actually end up with an electoral college tie. 269 to 269, and now these are reversed, of course. These are the bluer regions, and these are the redder regions as of right now, but that's just an interesting thing to point out. So that's exactly because of the 270 to 268 victory, except flipped around. So now looking again at, because if you give him Nevada now, 226 to 225. So other passive victory that are somewhat plausible would just be basically a Trump getting North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, and then Wisconsin, picking off Wisconsin. Doesn't matter if Harris then wins Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Nevada, Trump would still win if he just picks off Wisconsin. Now, Wisconsin, again, as I showed, was the most right-leaning out of those three, and however, she has been polling the best in Wisconsin, actually, even better than in Michigan, and her odds are actually still in the positive in Wisconsin, but it is fundamentally the most right-leaning. It has the lowest college-educated percentage out of the three, and it also is one of the whitest states in the nation. So, looking at it from the demographics angle, then you can see how it could get picked off by the Trump campaign. And looking in at Arizona, which is another state that he might be able to pull off, Trump has held a consistent lead for a while. There's a very brief period of time where Harris technically had a lead for about a day, and then going back, she had a slight lead for a week, and she managed to hold a lead for quite a bit of time here, about 3 weeks in August. But recently, she had from the middle of September until today, she has been trailing Trump by up to 1.5 points. And there's been a few positive Harris polls, but most of them have been slightly smaller and a bit less reputable sources, and the larger ones are generally going to be more for Trump. Some of them are going to be a bit ridiculous, like Trump plus 6, but also only 500 likely voters. Marist College, 1264, Trump plus 1, Trump plus 2. Again, this is all going to come down to Maricopa County. It shifted, the state as a whole shifted by 4 points from 2016 to 2020, but it appears that it might end up going a bit back towards the Trump column this year. So, looking here, that's going to be another state that Trump is right now probably expected to pick off, so then it would just be down to whether or not Harris can hold on to the Rust Belt. So essentially, that's what we're looking at here. Going into this election in just under a month. So it's a very interesting map to be watching, and there's, of course, a few important indicators that could show how it's going. Tomorrow, of course, I'm going to be doing an update on the overall electoral map. Now, thank you all for watching. Make sure to tune in tomorrow for that update on the electoral map prediction. And Also, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment for any ideas you might want to have. Make sure to join the Discord. Link is going to be in the description, of course. And also make sure that you don't miss my live stream of election night. It starts at 5:30 p.m. on election night, November 5th, and will be going till at least 1:30 a.m. in the morning on the 6th. So you do not want to miss that. That there's going to be tons of events there. I'm going to be comparing tons of predictors and their predictions. Going to be looking at the results and making state calls. I have a complete theme pack and everything set up for that, so you do not want to miss that. Make sure to subscribe so you get notified when that starts. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a fabulous rest of your day.